Hello and welcome back to Shelve Your Boots. I'm Katie, the face behind Shelve Your Boots. And this week we have Adi on the show. Thank you, Adi. You came recommended from a friend of a friend of a friend. I believe it was Glenn that popped a message in my inbox and said, you need to speak to this guy. So thanks, Glenn, or not, depending on how you feel about that. But yeah, Adi, if you could give a little intro of yourself, of your history and how you've come to where you are today.
Yeah, no, so I appreciate obviously jumping on, and yes, I don't mind these, so thank you to Glenn if he does watch this. But yeah, I'm 80, and I left the military 2 and a bit years ago now. So officially April 24, I actually left, but my last day in uniform was December 23.
Yeah.
I left the army after 12 years. It was a case of either commit to the full 24,
Yeah.
leave at that point, and it just got to a point where I was in content place with what I'd achieved in the military, and I didn't see it getting better from a posting perspective. I'd kind of reached the pinnacle of where I wanted to be in returning back to phase two, free. So I just thought, you know what, now's probably the right time. Of course, like everyone, I had the lack of confidence. I was nervous, I was worried, I was anxious of leaving. However, I managed to get a provisional offer for a prison officer role.
Yeah.
So at least I knew that in 12 months' time, my mortgage and my bills would have been covered. Not a lot more than that, but they would have been covered.
Yeah.
Left the military, kind of fell into the railway industry.
Yeah.
Where I currently work full time, and obviously I do my own bits and pieces on the side, which I'm sure we could talk about later. But yeah, I kind of fell into the rail industry by accident. However, I've never really looked back. I would say since I left, I've grown personally and professionally.
Yeah.
But I'm aware that I networked quite early.
Yeah.
But obviously, I do believe that you make your own luck, right? I was very lucky to get what I did, but I do believe that whenever you leave, you do make your own luck.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's interesting you say the 12 years, but I think you're the first. I mean, someone might message me and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're the first one, other than essentially a little bit myself, who's reached that 12-year milestone. I mean, mine was a 10, but it was the age 30 milestone, where you reach that decision point of I've either got to commit till the 22 or I'm going to have to leave now, which I think is, when I was in, that was quite a common thing that you would see. There was a lot of conversations of, I don't know what to do. I don't know if, I need to look at my pension. Is it worth it? And then there's a lot of sort of thought and conversations around, is the pension worth the pain of how things are at the moment in the military? And you were the same as me. Like I'd reached a certain point in my career. I was like, I've actually ticked off everything I wanted to do, and it came up to a posting decision, and I was like, I don't actually know where every post in that point. I was like, I know what I want to do. I know the courses I want to do. I know where I want to go. And I'd got to that point where I didn't know where I wanted to go because I'd done it. And then I was 30, and I was like, I've either got to commit and then, leave at 22, or I've got to start a new career at 30. I can't do 4 more years and start a new career at 35. In my head, it looked better, for example, on a CV. Not that you put your age on a CV, but in my head, it was an easier battle than 35 years old. Was it similar? Because I left in 2020, so 4 years later, was it a similar theme when you were leaving? Is that a common theme still, or was that kind of dying out now?
I'm not sure if it's a common theme, to be honest with you. But I was exactly the same. I said I'd rather start a new career in my early 30s than start a new career in my mid 40s.
Yeah.
And I thought that I think with how motivated military personnel are, it's a lot easier to start at that point rather than do your full 24. And let's be honest, we're indoctrinized and institutionalized at that level and that time of length of service, that I would have probably found it more difficult to transition at that point. And I do see that with a lot of people I speak to at the moment, in that they get into that 22, 24 years and they're after a certain level of salary, responsibility, and I'm not saying that the military doesn't prepare you for that, 100% it does. However, sometimes people do go and double their salary, right?
Yeah.
They do, but sometimes they might have to either match or in the short term go for a lower level of salary. I know that's a really kind of controversial phrase and subject with a lot of service leavers because it's about how they communicate their value
Yeah.
to the civilian world. But what I'm actually seeing at the moment, obviously, I still do speak to a lot of people that are within the military environment, people that I served with and served alongside, and they're actually leaving. Some of them are leaving earlier. They're literally doing their 4 to 8 years, and they're going, do you know what? What's here for me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're seeing the success that people are having on the outside, and in I call it the real world. They're seeing the success that people are having and going, well, actually, I could do that. And I think when we look at it, I'm ex-RMP, ex-military police. They're getting out of training as a lance corporal. Within 2 years, they're a corporal.
Yeah.
So if they're leaving at that 6 to 8 year point, maybe knocking on the door of sergeant, they're still at that salary level where it's quite simple for us to jump into a role
Yeah.
at that level and
Yeah.
at that salary range. There's an abundance out there, I believe.
Yeah.
So I actually feel that a lot of people in that 4 to 8 year period are going, well, do you know what? It's not worth staying the long term.
Yeah.
Because the retention and the retention isn't there in the military at the moment. Maybe the deployments aren't as, and obviously the current news may dictate
Yeah.
or as we go, but yeah, the deployments aren't really there. Probably what people like you and I joined 12, 15 years ago. That's why some of us joined the military, right? Is to go and make that difference and go to these places in the world where we can make a difference and fight for the country. But now I don't believe that's all there,
Yeah.
which I feel is kind of removing the enticement of the military from people.
Yeah. I think they've missed a massive trick in recent years, because what I found when Iraq was kind of tailing off and then it was back again while I was in, but Afghan was the big ticket in terms of war, and the battle rhythm of units and your own kind of career and personal life was so well structured. It was, pre-deployment, deployment, come back, and the conversation that was always had was, right, what do you want to do? Do you want to do adventure training? Do you want to do sport? Do you want to do career stuff? What do you want to do to support your career? And it was always given space and time and airtime. And then the deployments stopped that were that level of aggression, and that disappeared, which baffled me.
Yeah.
Comments were made, especially towards the end of my time, that people were saying they had more hours out of bed now than when we were running Iraq and Afghanistan side by side, because people were trying to fill white space with bullshit and stuff to support their own careers or whatever it may be. I mean, at one point, I think we had a sergeant pan bashing. Like, what is going on? And in my head, that should have been a time for, I mean, I've even had conversations where sport's been harder to get onto. It should have been a massive, thing for sport, but also education and supporting, your soldiers through peacetime, and getting them the education that they need so they do want to stay. So when things like this kick off, they're already here. We've already got the manpower, because they've seen it as almost like an extended university thing where they're getting paid to be soldiers, but at the same time, I'm getting a degree in law or whatever it may be. It feeds that person to stay, but then at the same time, they have to understand if you need to go, you need to go.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. I do think the military has shrunk, particularly in my last probably 4 years. I think I noticed that we still had the staff, but I couldn't see where they were.
Yeah, I think it's about the 70s now, isn't it?
But I think the requirements, the expectations on people, has certainly increased. I remember being a lance corporal in Germany back in 2012, 2014, and my senior NCOs, my sergeants they was done at 2 o'clock. They was chilling out there on the golf course, and then after I promoted to sergeant, my workload increased even more. So I was thinking, when's this going to let up?
Yeah.
And I just think the whole process, the whole environment has changed over that 10-year period. And I'm not saying that I had it difficult. I had quite a decent career, to be fair. And I know it's been worse in the past, and it'll probably be worse or better in the future, whatever that happens. But I just think the expectations are getting more now. And I think it's the same when you leave. There's still an expectation on you to achieve, to perform. But yeah, I do think the expectations of workload is only increasing.
Yeah, I think the mentality has been the workload from what I saw when I was there and from discussions I've had afterwards is we're still operating like we've got 110,000
Hmm.
and the commitments of exercises and all the rest of it haven't changed, but we have in the region of 75 to 85,000. So what you're finding is guys going out on exercise, come back, wash the kit, pack the bags off, they go again because that
Yeah,
third company has gone and you're now
yeah,
rotating between two and no one's gone, well actually do we need that? It's those conversations sort of almost haven't really taken place and caused, I think, this issue of it. People have just got no white space, so they haven't got space to then help themselves when they leave, and
yeah,
then it becomes a more of a cliff edge of, well, I'm going to have to leave, and I've done nothing. I've done nothing apart from I've lived on an exercise ground in Canada, Kenya, and somewhere in Salisbury for the last 4 or 5 years, and that's about
yeah.
it.
I think the resettlement process, I think probably for senior NCOs and above, I think it's because I do believe that we've got a little bit more assertiveness about us when we leave at that level, senior corporal sergeant level and above. And I think it's a lot easier for us to turn around and go, well, no, this is my year. Yes, I'll still give everything I can to the army, to the organisation, but I still do need to step out at some point, and I'm not going to be here in 12 months' time. But I do find, and I've had some conversations with private signallers, junior lance corporals, and they're not getting that time, or they're not fully aware of what they're entitled to. So they don't push forward with that, and then they start to become, as they get closer to their end date, 6 months to go, they're thinking, well, I've done absolutely nothing with my resettlement. I haven't got a CV. I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah,
I don't know what industry I want to go to. I don't know what job roles I can do because they've just been MT, a signaller, whatever it may be for that period of time. They can't translate it, so they don't go on these courses to learn more about them. They don't jump on LinkedIn and connect with people
yeah,
in a way that helps and lifts them up. So
yeah,
they get to that 6 month point and they get overwhelmed, they get anxious, they get nervous, and they just don't know where they're going. And I've had a couple of people that have spoke to me that have said, I've just signed back on.
yeah,
It's the easier thing to do. I've signed back on.
yeah,
And they're back into that routine and rhythm then.
yeah, yeah.
But
And I
it's just
and I think that's sometimes where they see, probably higher commands see that the benefit of not really helping people because I mean, in my time it was, well, you got to pay for the gym on the outside and all, they
yeah,
tried to scaremonger you into this. Well, you're going to have bills to pay. You got to pay for your dentist. There was always those kind of, and it usually came from like a CO level when you had your exit call of, are you sure? Because I've got to click this and you've got, and it's almost like they don't even need to do that anymore. It's almost like, well, we can ignore you and carry working you as a soldier. Don't respect that time because the reality is you're going to get a month out, maybe a couple of months out and go, oh, I can't do this and sign back on.
yeah, yeah.
And, we've not lost that time in that year of not being able to use you because we've just used you anyway.
Yeah, that's definitely a real experience for people. And from my own transition and resettlement process, I remember informing my sergeant major at the time, yeah, this is me. I'm going to do it. I'm. Oh wait, just wait out. If let me just go speak to someone first. I'll let you, and if I've not let you know by 2 o'clock, you can sign off. And I was like, I can sign off when I want. Because that's my right, isn't it? I can sign off whenever I want and give 12 months notice, and that's it. So I remember getting in that afternoon to a meeting. He's like, right, you can sign off if you want. I was like, I did it 3 hours ago.
Yeah,
Um, and then I walked out, and obviously the news gets out quite quickly, doesn't it?
yeah,
I had a W1 tell me he's really disappointed in me, which is great,
yeah,
fantastic. I don't really mind.
yeah,
I'm leaving because I know that I can give more
yeah,
to another business, to another organisation, into another thing, whatever that was. I didn't really know at the time.
yeah,
But yeah, I think a lot of people are supported though as well. On the flip side, there is a lot of support out there, both inside the military and also there's some amazing organisations when you leave or when you're leaving that offer that support, offer that guidance, and give you that path.
yeah,
It's just down to us to take it.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's again sometimes where people fall down a little bit is they almost grab the ball by the horns too late. and go, actually, I need to sort this out. And then it's like, you're leaving in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's just making people aware, the moment you click, really, you should probably have grabbed the bull by horns when you started thinking about it, like
Yeah.
6 months ago, or you
Yeah.
knew it was coming because you towards you 22 or whatever, and get ready for it and prepare for it. And usually, I find people I speak to that really have really struggled through the transition out is because they left it and then were like, crap, I'm leaving next week.
Yeah.
What the hell am I
We've
going
had
to do?
conversations. We've had conversations that have got a mortgage to pay for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And they're talking to businesses 4 weeks before, like on the minute they go on their terminal leave, that's when they start looking.
yeah,
I'm thinking the pre-employment checks take longer than 4 weeks.
yeah,
Never mind an application and then waiting for an interview and then waiting for a
yeah,
decision and then accepting it. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you're looking at, for me, yes, all right. I'm not going to say there's not any companies out there that can do it in that period of time. I'm sure there is, but on the grand on the whole, you're probably looking at about 3 months before from applying to starting.
yeah. And especially if you're looking at a level that's quite high. I mean, if I have my notice in my job now, I've got to give 3 months notice. If I step up a level, that's 6 months notice. Level above
Yeah,
that, a year. So depending on where you're coming out and where you're anticipating going, they could be starting like I put my notice in, say now, they're going to start looking next week, but they can't fill me for another 2.5, 3 months. So you've got to wait for that person to leave as well. But they're going to start looking as soon as they can because of the job market and the way it is.
yeah,
So you've also got to bear that in mind, that it's not like it was where I can start next week. It's, well, actually, you've got the job, but you can't start until New Year because it's December, we're closing, and it's 3 months anyway. And you'll start on the 11th of January. It's like, crap. All of a sudden, I've got to wait even longer to get that role, especially if you're going in. If you're coming out as a warrant or a sergeant, you're probably looking at those kind of like sort of periods that companies cover themselves massively, which I wasn't aware of until I saw it in my contract. It was like, oh, 3 months, okay, that's interesting. That's a thing. Always thought it was just when you got paid, whether it's weekly, fortnightly, monthly. That's your notice period.
yeah. No,
Businesses have got smarter now.
yeah, no, yeah, 100%, 100%. I feel so. I mean, in my full time job, I've got 4 weeks notice to give. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I'm pretty. I've got the flexibility there if I was ever to jump ship and move somewhere else. But yeah, I think 3 months is I still think 3 months is a good time. There's a good bit of stability for you as an individual,
yeah.
but also not too much that's going to stop you from looking elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So when you left, I mean, I don't think I've spoke to anyone who's gone down the prison service route because it seems to be a kind of a recruiting ground in the background. Again, I've not really spoke to anyone who's gone down that road. Prison service looking for ex-military side of life. Was that kind of that system sort of set up for it? Were they very aware of military, ex-military?
Yeah. So when I applied, I hadn't signed off at that point.
Yeah,
So I applied and I thought the assessment centre was at the start of April. So on my application form, I informed them that I had a 12-month notice period. 'Cause I thought, well, do you know what? If I get offered even a provisional offer, then that's good enough for me to hit the button and leave. And I got through that. I got through the sift. So they must have been okay with that. And obviously, I knew I had that provisional offer to retain that for 12 months. But I never wanted to go in the prison service. It wasn't a thing that I kind of goes, oh, when I leave the military, I want to be in the prison service. It was just I saw something pop up when I was on a bit of annual leave. I was looking through job boards because I used to do that quite regularly. And I thought, well, do you know what? I might as well give it a go.
yeah,
The base salary for a prison officer matched what I needed to pay my bills and feed and clothe myself. So I thought, well, do you know what? Actually, if I've got that near enough guaranteed, then I'm going to be a bit more comfortable when I finally hit the button and go, do you know what?
yeah,
Yeah, this is for me. 'Cause I was always nervous and anxious about that 12-month period, and I think that's a real thing within the military, isn't it? Is that I don't know what I'm going to be doing in a year's time. I don't know what my life's going to look like in a year's time.
yeah.
So I needed that kind of a little bit of a comfort blanket to push me over the line and to help me to make that decision to hit them. It's not 7 clicks, is it? It's about 20 clicks.
Yeah. You just keep clicking.
Yeah,
The
but
bugger for
but I
me
do.
was I went to sign off and JPA was down.
I was
So I was
I've
like,
been
yes,
guilty of that
I'm going to
before.
do it. Refresh. Why is it not working? Crap.
Yeah,
I'll be back tomorrow.
yeah.
It
But
should have been the
I think
17th, not.
yeah. But no, yeah, I was the prison service was never something I wanted to join. It wasn't like a dream since I've been a kid. And actually, I look back now and I think, do you know what, it was best that I didn't go down that route. But yeah, my kind of transition was pretty fluid, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
Like I said earlier, I do think I was one of the lucky ones. But again, I was job searching before I even left the military, before I even considered leaving.
yeah,
I just like to know what was out there and what was about. But I feel that set me up quite well.
yeah.
Um,
And
I
that
remember going,
safety blanket of the prison service, I think it doesn't remove all stress and anxiety around it, but it, like you say, it gave you that kind of that comfort of no matter what happens, I'm going to get a wage and I'll figure it out, but I'm going to get a wage at least. That is the biggest stress, is
yeah,
how am I going to pay for the bills? And
yeah,
let's face it, going into prison service is up there with going into the police or the ambulance service or that's a job that's going to pay you, and there's no threat of redundancy or going under, or
no, no,
that is in
100%.
the corporate world. It's I can turn up and I'm going to get paid. So that reassurance does take a bit of the sort of the stresses off, and I suppose give you the sort of breathing space to then look elsewhere and be like, well, what else could I do? But if I don't get the job, it's not the end of the world kind of mentality. You're not
Yeah,
putting
it
all
removes.
your hopes and dreams into one sort of area, really.
Yeah, I think it removes any pressure as well when you are speaking to hiring managers or speaking to businesses. When you presenting yourself to other companies, instead of flapping and going, I need to impress this person. It's cool. It'd be really cool if that happens. However, I know that if I'm not successful, I've still got this to fall back on. So
Yeah,
I do think actually having that in the background enabled me to approach conversations with other hiring managers and my current line manager who gave me this opportunity that I've got, with a bit of freedom, flexibility, and without that pressure.
yeah, yeah. So now you're with the railway.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm from near Derby, so we have National Rail down. There's a big railway community in Derby. You got either Rolls Royce, National Rail, are the two big ones, and train company that builds trains, and I always forget their name. There's another one I think they used to sponsor Derby County at one point. So you speak to a lot of people in the area, and I'm not, Rolls Royce and National Rail are the two companies in this area that they hire, and people work there for like tens of years, 10, 20, 30. Once they're in, they absolutely love it.
the money, the money.
As well, especially National Rail. I think National Rail are one of the companies now that still have a bloody good pension and haven't
Yeah,
kind of let up on that.
I know we have a private pension, so we're through
Yeah,
obviously through the provider, so we don't get that kind of benefit. Yeah, 100%. The people that are in the railway, I tend to think that if you've done 5 to 8 years in the rail, that's probably going to be you,
yeah,
and you're going to stay in that industry because it's not an easy industry, but it is an industry what once you know the lingo, it's very very similar to the army, acronyms, mnemonics. People within the military that you kind of you talk like them anyway, so yeah, I think once you're in, once you've done that, once you've got broke through that 5 year barrier, I'm not there yet, but once you get through that 5 year barrier, that's you
yeah,
in that industry, which we are paid a lot more than probably other industries or other areas of the corporate world, if you like.
yeah,
I know I look at my salary compared to outside for my job role outside the railway. I'm probably on about 15 grand more than
yeah,
what I should be on in a different industry,
yeah,
which is fantastic and it's great for service leavers.
yeah,
And a company like the one that I work at, they do value military personnel for sure,
yeah,
and they don't lowball. We don't lowball people. Like if we feel like they're worth top end of that salary range, they're offered top end of that salary range. It's not like, oh well, you're new into the industry, you haven't got this, you haven't got that. So do you know what? Well, I know you've got a pension, so we're going to
yeah,
reduce that salary
So
15 grand.
I had a conversation with someone last week about this, who is going to be coming out on a future cast, and he's had conversations with people because he came out as a full colonel. He did 20 no, he did 30 years in. And the conversation that he had was, well, we're not going to pay you that because we know you've got a pension.
Yeah.
And he just went, goodbye. That's
Oh,
my money,
100%.
not your money. That's my money. So, there is that. And it's something that's been highlighted a couple of times, that companies are very aware about these pensions and will kind of take that into account sometimes when they're putting an offer across the table, because they're like, well, you're only just trying to top up your pension. So if we lowball it, you know what, we'll get away with it because you've got a pension. And it's like, no, that's not how you're getting the same
Yeah.
service as if I didn't have the pension. So I earn that pension elsewhere. And it's mind blowing. Yeah. Literally 2 weeks now on the bounce. Pension and lowballing has sort of come up.
Yeah. Yeah. I've obviously, I know of a couple of businesses that would do that, but for me, yes, business is business, and of course, people want to reduce the costs, right? However, I think if that's the conversation service leavers are getting early doors, it's probably a bit of a red flag sign that that's not a company they're going to fit into,
Yeah. And that's exactly
and
what
not
he
somewhere
said
that
as
they can
well.
really grow.
Yeah. He said the exact same thing. He was like, that is your biggest red flag going. Walk out the
Yeah,
door. Leave. Leave. Don't entertain any more conversations. Don't entertain it.
yeah, yeah. But if someone's leaving the military and they're late in doing their plan and preparation, they're probably going to be at that kind of fight and flight response, and they think I just need to get something, and they will take it, and then they'll start to reject or I can't think of the word now, but they won't enjoy working there, and
Feel like a regret.
they'll have second thoughts and think, oh, why did I do that? Why didn't I start earlier? And they're more likely to then move careers, and the more often someone moves companies, that's going to be kind of a pattern that they find themselves in, isn't it? Instead of getting their foot in the door to somewhere that values them and values their contribution, but
Yeah.
also that they can give back as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, the railway, I always keep an eye on it, as I always do. I always keep an eye on the job market and what's happening, what's going on, what's, popular, what's not. But yeah, the railway, speaking to friends that work there, they absolutely love it. And even when they join, they're kind of like, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna work for the railway, and they're a little bit like, "Oh, how's this gonna go?" And then they get in, and then that's it. They just love it. So yeah, a lot of the gifs of Homer Simpson shouting "nerd" appear in chats and stuff. But yeah, my a good friend of mine, I'll take a photo of a train on the train, and she'll be like, "Oh, that's a whatever train. That's one of ours." And it's like, you're
That's
gone.
something I can't get.
You're gone. You're there for 30 years. You have left the building.
Yeah, that's not something. I'm not there yet.
Not
I
there
don't
yet.
think I'll get there.
Give it time that you can identify trains from the seat pattern and the cloth that's on it.
Not a chance. Not a chance. I'm not that way inclined. But
But in terms of like stuff outside of work and bits and pieces, what have you found yourself in that side? Because you touched on it at the start.
yeah, so when I was leaving in probably, well, most of my service, I always tell people about the mask that I wore throughout the whole of service. And my anchor point where I needed to be this different person, this confident person, this person who's got all his shit together, was putting my berry on every morning.
Yeah.
So the minute I walked out my quarter, the minute I walked out my room, like a berry would go on, that was me, a completely different person. I would mask all day. I'd be this confident, amazing person in the workplace. I'd be deploying everywhere. But then the minute I got home, it was like I was absolutely knackered from pretending to be someone else. So I was always suffering with that anxiety, depression, didn't feel worthy, low self-esteem, all of that in my personal kind of life. I went through therapy myself towards the latter end of my career, and then when I signed off, I actually went and qualified in neurolinguistic programming, coaching, hypnotherapy, and I've kind of landed in that hypnotherapist sphere where I help blokes navigate through them particular troubles that I did. And not all of my clients are ex-military, but a good proportion of them are. I would probably say I'm sitting on about 75% ex-military or current serving military that are part of my client base at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because I'm giving that back to people and giving people the opportunity to look at life and think about life in a different way rather than
Yeah.
always mask through alcohol, some people drugs, even within the military, different unhealthy kind of habits and routines. So that's what I do at the moment in addition to my full-time job. So I kind of look at it as two full-time jobs.
Yeah.
A lot of time is spent trying to market to people and help people out. Really, that's my main thing is help one person a week. If I can help one person a week, it doesn't have to be a massive change. Do you know what I mean? It could just be a small thing that they do that's different. But yeah, help one person a week.
Yeah. And I think it's and it's something that, some people might listen to that and go, well, it's not really relevant to me. And I'd ask those people to just think a little bit harder, especially when they leave, because like you say, that uniform was, disguise is probably the wrong word for it, but it was almost like another personality, almost like a drag queen. It was a whole different persona. And it's what's interesting, and I found is, I knew of deaths of people when I was in Afghanistan. I did a repatriation while I was in Afghanistan. Did remembrance, absolutely fine, no emotion whatsoever. After I left, I struggled to go to remembrance because I didn't have my uniform on.
Yeah.
And I found I was more emotional this side than I was that side, closer to the actual event. Like, it just didn't, nothing happened. I was just almost dead inside. It was fine. And then it was only when I came out this side that I was like, crap, I have feelings. Where are these coming
Yeah,
from?
100%.
Because I didn't have that drag queen soldier persona to be like, no, I need to be this person today, and no emotion, no nothing. And so I will, if people think, well, it's not really me, I wasn't doing that every day, and I think a little bit harder, because there'll be certain things you come across in life like that, and you go, why am I not dealing with this how I used to deal with this? And for me, it was the uniform. I could put that on and I could just be robotic. Without
I
that
think
and my safety net, I was a blubbering mess.
yeah, because you mask it right. When you're in the military, you've got structure. You need to be a certain person, and I always say if I had to go back knowing what I know now, like as a corporal, as a sergeant, as someone in command of people, I would have played my cards differently.
Mm,
And we see it all the time, don't we? People promote, they get into a role within the military, and then they're a completely different person
yeah,
to what they was yesterday when they was wearing a different rank slide.
yeah,
100%, I think and I do think the military is pushing forward now, and they are valuing the mental well-being side a lot more. I would say there's still a massive amount of work to do, but they are getting better. I just think as personality changes within units, within HQs, when they change to someone that's actually navigated through personal mental health struggles, that recognise that something needs to be done, then I think that's going to change the landscape of how we in the military with mental health and well-being. I remember back in Portsmouth, back in phase 2-3, it was a case of the QMs told us to chuck a couple of posts up in the smoking area, and that was their commitment to it. And like we all know, putting a few posters up doesn't actually do much. It's
yeah.
just
I
a
think
tick box.
I think there needs to be space given as well. I think the biggest issue is, and this is probably where it kind of, the mental health inside falls down a little bit, because they don't see the mental health impact until someone actually implodes.
No,
And
exactly.
then
Yeah.
when they implode, they get taken out of that situation, of that company or whatever it may be, and put into mental health and welfare and PRU and all the rest of it. So they don't see what happens to it. And I had an interesting conversation the other day as well with he was ex-Navy, and he's a fireman. And what the way they do daily on when they're on shift is cook together. And he says that's our space to actually talk. And, it might be we've been on a difficult job, difficult car accident, and we can sit and talk. And it's that space, that dedicated space to actually have those conversations and check in and make sure people are okay. So they fight hard to keep it. He says they've tried to take it from us, but we're like, no, this is something that we really value because of the mental health side of it. And what I find in the military is there's never a space to actually decompress and go, right, how are people doing with it? Not even like with chain of command, nothing. what we then become very good at is compartmentalizing. Well, I can't deal with that now, so I'm going to lock it away and deal with it later. But the problem is later is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the line. So while you serve, yeah, you don't necessarily have those problems because you've boxed them away. And the problem is when you leave, the boxes start falling off the shelves, and that's when you need to deal with it because your mind goes, "We're dealing with this now." And then you fall
Which,
apart, and then you can't figure out, well, why am I falling apart now when I wasn't
yeah,
then?
yeah, which makes it even more difficult. It's not impossible for sure, but it actually lengthens the process of getting that support once you leave. And I always say to people, like, I wanted to end my own life in June 2023, and I can't believe we're, what is it, not even 3 years on from that. I feel like I'm a completely different person.
Yeah,
But you don't need to get to that point. You
yeah,
don't need to get to that point where you just don't want to be here anymore. Like, if you're finding that some habits, some routines, some things, your mood is off, then that's the moment to go, do you know what, I need to deal with this before I add to it, because we're always going to add to things when we look at life. I always look at my role is, I'm not going to make everyone's life perfect. I'm just going to help them deal with the challenges that they're going to face better than
yeah,
what they maybe would have done. We're always going to add more to our life, right? We're always going to stack more pressure if we don't deal with the stuff on the bottom.
yeah,
So actually, by pushing it down, and pushing that back into our minds and go, I'll deal with that another day. I'll deal with that in a couple of months' time when I can be bothered. Or they'll go to DCMH and they'll go through that pipeline, which I put a post on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, and I think it's amazing. It's a really good provision, but the after support I don't think is there.
yeah,
I'm seeing a few clients at the moment that have been through that provision. They're still serving, but they don't want to go through that provision again because it's going to hamper their promotional prospects.
yeah,
Because they get into them levels now where the start majors, or they get into that start major level, and if they go to DCMH, there's still that stigma within the military. And I'd argue with anyone all day long that there is still a stigma in the military from the conversation.
I think it still comes down to, are you allowed in the armory yet?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You know,
can you deploy it?
can you deploy? Are you allowed in the armory yet? Um, that's I think in terms of company level and battalion level, that's all that's the. Are you allowed in there yet or not? Yes, fabulous. You're better. Wonderful. Carry on.
Yeah,
And it doesn't.
but
It's not
yeah,
as easy as that.
no. I think over time, if you're parking something and pushing something down, I'll deal with that later. Let's crack on, man up and crack on.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, it's gonna bite you in the arse at some point. I'm not going to say people are going to get to rock bottom, but it's going to bite people in the arse at some point when they may put their 12 months in and they're struggling to navigate that process because they've got all of this stuff internally that they've not released or allowed to process properly, and that's going to stop them from getting the job that they deserve and that they're capable of and competent to do. I do think mindset when you're approaching resettlement is one of the most important parts of that process itself. So yeah, I would always say to people, you don't have to pay for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you go to the NHS or you go to your med centre and go to welfare in the military and get 6 sessions completely free of charge. I use them in the military. I use them for relationship counselling, but you can have that completely for free. You don't have to go and pay someone for it. However, when you do leave, just be aware that the NHS waiting lists are up to 18 months at some points for CBT and talking therapies. Or you do have to invest in yourself in that way from a financial perspective. But I will always say to people is first and foremost, when you're in the military, go try them things for free. Give it a go because you're not losing anything apart from a bit of time.
soon.
And then when you do leave, or if that's not effective, then don't be scared to invest in yourself, and don't be scared to purchase and to book paid sessions with people.
Yeah,
I think it's different as well with the approach and coaching. When you look at career coaching, I think that's essential for service leavers. It's getting that external outside observation
yeah,
on where their skill set sits. It's what I did. I spoke to a career coach a couple of times
yeah,
about where I was going and where my skill sets best fit. And do you know what? That's one of the reasons why I'm at this point now, because of that process. So yeah, don't be afraid to eat a bit of humble pie and drop the ego for a second, because we don't know everything. We're not.
no, no. And I think, especially with the mental side of it, a big sort of line that my therapist says: if you don't listen to your body whisper, you'll hear it scream. And if you ignore it long enough, that's when the implode happens. You think, and I think it's the biggest learning curve I had, was you think you know your brain and you think you know yourself, think again, because once mental health takes hold, you're learning a whole new person, and you start to become very humbled at the fact that actually it can bring me to my knees, and I have at that point probably no say in it, because it's warning me and has been warning me for some time that I need to do something about this, and I've ignored it and I've ignored it and I've ignored it, and it's just imploded. And transitioning out the military is probably going to be one of the biggest challenges you face, up there with, buying a house, getting married, having kids. And you need to be mentally in a great space to attack it to its full potential. And if you're not, because you've ignored so much stuff in your past, then you're essentially starting a marathon taped from head to toe in like sports tape. You're never going to finish that marathon if you're going to start it that way. You train for a marathon, you look after yourself, you have sports massages, you rehab injuries, you look after yourself. And it's, with what we're exposed to in the military and how it is, your mind is very much the same. And I had a conversation, I think it was last summer, with a girl that I used to play cricket with in the military, and we were talking about other individuals that had mental breaks and things like that. And she said to me, she was like, Chippy, what do I need to do to make sure this doesn't happen? I went, get a bloody good therapist and get one now. Start now. I said, you might not think you need one. I said, but they'll be there then when you do, and they'll help you navigate a lot of this. I said, that is the best investment you can ever make in yourself, is get a bloody good therapist and just keep them once a month, once a couple of months, just keep them, have conversations with them, talk through situations with them. I said, because that will stop the mental break that, you could end up having. And it's not going to happen to everyone, don't get me wrong, but there's more that it is that it isn't at this point in time.
That's the thing. If you don't manage it, it's going to manage you. And a session every 3 to 6 months, and even now, even as someone that's practicing and that's doing this on a weekly basis, like, because it's really important for that maintenance. Things like when you go for having a car, you take it for an annual MOT, you take it for an annual service to keep it sharp, to keep it running at an optimal level. But for sure, I always say to people that like, we've got all them skills, we know what we've done in the military, but actually it's how we approach that from in here is the key. It's a secret, I think.
Yeah.
Secret ingredient to attacking
Yeah.
resettlement in the best.
Yeah. And I've had so many conversations in the last couple of weeks, but I had another conversation with someone else about it who, the mental health side of it. And we were saying that, because there is that kind of, like you say, there's almost that stigma that still kind of sits around it, especially in the military. But it's a conversation that people need to realise, what we've dealt with and what we do. And let's face it, if this Iran thing keeps kicking off, it's, people are going to be dealing with even more horrific stuff. What we've been exposed to is not normal. So don't put the pressure on yourself to feel that you can solve it and be normal.
Yeah.
It's a really complex thing, to deal with, and you shouldn't sit there on your own thinking, well, I should be fine. Well, I'll be surprised if you are. So, never think, well, it's fine, I should be fine. If you actually look at what we do compared to normal people, get the help, speak to someone, do something to help yourself, to look after yourself, because at the end of the day, it's not normal what we deal with. Just as, nurses dealing on COVID wards at that point was not normal. Firemen going to car crashes and mangle, situation, that is not normal. That's not what normal people see day to day. And to process that is really difficult.
I think within the military as well, like, for those that haven't seen kinetic warfare, they may be struggling in here, but not able to verbalize and to talk to people, because they look at that person next to them who's been to Iraq, been to Afghanistan, done Sierra Leone. Do you know what I mean? All of that stuff, and they've seen a lot of crap, and they might think, well, I don't have it as bad as them.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not ready.
Where my initial trigger actually started when I was 9-10 years old, and I didn't deal with it at that point, because obviously, when was that, 2001 time, like, of course we didn't talk about things. Of course, a 9, 10 year old didn't talk about their feelings, especially as a boy back then.
Yeah.
But I carried that through my teenage years. I carried that through early adulthood. I then masked that by joining the army.
Yeah.
And then I got married very early. I had a kid very young. I moved to Germany at 19 years old with a newborn baby and a new marriage. So I had to deal with it. Do you know what I mean? I just joined the military police and I was policing in Germany. I had so much added on to that pressure.
Yeah.
But it's not just the kinetic warfare. It's not just the deployments that people go on. It's what you bring into that service as well.
Yeah. And it goes back to like what we were saying before, is white spaces being filled. So, you know, people are getting thrashed. And it's not even kinetic warfare. It's just time and effort is being and people are burning out through that. And, you know, that in itself creates, you know, a mindset and things and overload and all the rest of it that will burn you out and cause you issues. And, you know, you could be in a toxic unit that adds to the problem and all this sort of stuff. And the reality is, whether you've been in kinetic or not, you've still been programmed differently to not deal with it, box it away and carry on. And it becomes very apparent when you come out, and probably, I don't know, maybe not so much on the male side, but I've certainly noticed it with females, where certain things have happened to me, and my civvy mates who I've been to school with, and you know, they've had normal civvy lives, and I've gone, oh yeah, so this whatever happened, and they're like, were you not scared? What's happened? And they've been really confused by my blasé, like no feeling, and it's like, oh, I should have felt something, shouldn't I? I should have. Yeah, I've not dealt with that as a normal person. And it's even things like that that start to build in your brain. In those situations are nothing to do with kinetic or anything. It's just that's how it was in the military. So that's normal, right? And you come out and everyone goes, no, that's not normal. You should have been worried. You should have been scared. You should. Oh, okay. Well, that needs addressing. Even down to that level, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, massive. I think that's it. It's a different level of being, isn't it? I do think that the military is moving more civilianized, if I'm completely honest with you.
Yeah.
And I don't think the jump is as difficult as it once was. There's a lot of people now that are living in their own properties near to camps, and so they're already paying for their mortgages, for their bills, for council tax, for probably a gym membership. They're already paying for all of that. They're already probably paying for private dental care, private medical care potentially.
Yeah.
They're already paying for all of that, and I do believe that the military, in that sense, is moving much more of a normal, everyday role with that 12-month notice period. And I say this to people all the time. I speak to, or used to speak to a lad quite regularly who was in, he'd done 18 years, and I'm thinking, just leave. He wasn't happy. Oh, but I just need to do 2 more years and I'm eligible for my pension. Well, that's 2 years down the line.
Yeah.
You're married, you've got kids, you're not happy. In 2 years' time, how happy are you going to be?
Yeah.
Well, if it carries on like this, I'm not going to be.
Yeah.
Well, leave then.
Yeah.
Look after yourself. Look after number one.
Yeah.
I know we say it in the military and you're just a number, but 100% you're just a number. No one actually, this is probably going to be controversial, no one actually cares about you once you leave unless you make the effort with them.
Yeah.
I left the army and as a sergeant in a phase 2 environment. The CO, he didn't even turn up to my final exit interview. Like, at that point, I was like, well, do you know what? That solidifies everything for me. I'm still waiting for a coronation medal.
Oh, I think my best bit was your you know that letter you kind of get when you leave.
I've still not had it.
Mine, it didn't have my Reggie number. It had someone else's Reggie number.
Yeah.
It had my name on it, someone else's career.
Yeah.
And I ended up putting out on Facebook going, whose Reggie number is this? Because I think I have your letter, but apologies, it's got my name on it. And it got to the core RSM and then it got regurgitated. And I received it and went, yeah, that about sums it up. That really sums it up.
Is that your testimonial?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I still have.
Apparently, I've done 3 tours. I've done 1.
Yeah.
I was like, I've had an incredible career. No, that's not mine.
Yeah, I think I got asked for my career history within 3 months of me signing off, and I'm 22 months after my exit date, and I've still not had it, and I've given up. I started emailing the unit trying to get it, but I thought, well, do you know what was it going to achieve?
Yeah, I've got it framed, but I've got the wrong one framed and I've kept the right one behind it, just as a reminder of, yeah, you just, and it's the same on the outside. You're just a number, and the moment you leave, they'll be advertising your job. The moment and it's the same in the military. You're just that number that gets regurgitated.
And I think if people have that in the back of their minds, we start. And I know people say it's selfish, but you've got to be selfish at
Yeah,
sometimes. You've got to look after number one.
yeah,
And I always say to people, for all of the military's faults, it actually made me who
yeah,
I am today,
yeah,
both negatively, but also it gave me the
yeah,
strength to turn that around as well.
yeah.
I'm proud. I think people often look at the service and can't say they're proud of the service, but I'm proud of what I achieved in certain ways, and I'm so thankful for them opportunities for sure and them
And I
experiences
think,
because it really
that's
shaped me.
why it's such a complicated relationship,
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
because it brings the worst of you and the best of you in the same breath, and in a weird and probably trauma bonded way, you're grateful for it. It's such a strange scenario to be in, and it's really difficult to kind of compute at the
Yeah,
end.
I would say if my kids wanted to join the military, 100%, I'd want them to join. Maybe not the army, if I'm honest with you.
Probably
Maybe
say the
I'd
RAF, to be honest.
yeah, I'd push them more to the Royal Air Force. I would support them 100% joining the military because it does instill discipline. It does have that. You do instill integrity, loyalty to the individual.
Yeah,
It's all right. Yeah, it's probably done me some negative, but it's done me a load of good as well.
yeah.
From different angles.
And I think if I had my time again, I think I'd follow in the footsteps of people I've spoke to while doing this. Is I would be a little bit selfish and going on. What the people that I found have succeeded and really done well after leaving are the people that were selfish during their time in, and every time they did a course, they looked for the civvy equivalent
Yeah,
and did that while they were in. And they started that mentality at Lance Jack,
yeah,
and they left at like staff sergeant, maybe warrant officer, and they've just glided out and just done. And it's like, that's how it is to be done. You need to take that selfish point of view with everything that you give. Well, what can I take back that gives me something as well?
yeah, yeah,
And I think that's probably like the most important way to look at it. And I think you'll get so much out of the military if you view it that way, because the courses are there. You have education centres, it's all there. And I've known people when I was in, they did a degree in law and were given time to do it again while we were in Afghan. Now we've not got time, but then he went on tour and all the rest of it, and still managed to do that. And it's like the space was there for it, and it's those people that have flown, absolutely flown. They've used the military for, like say, the discipline, the confidence, the experiences, travelled about, done all the good stuff in the military, but then
yeah,
used it for themselves as well.
yeah, massively.
It's so important. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I think people should understand that the experiences that they've been through and they've navigated through and the job opportunities they've had actually are very, very useful and valuable and lucrative on the outside if framed in the right way. And if people engage with that resettlement process early doors, at least at that 12-year point, and network, then they're not going to go too far wrong. But if they put it off because they're worried, they're nervous, they're anxious about speaking to people about their experiences, then they're probably going to be very nervous leaving. I remember one of my first conversations with someone in a civilian employment. He was an ex-sergeant major. Was he working at ASDA? And I started that conversation off with, "I'm a sergeant within the Royal Military Police," and he says, "I don't give a shit, Adi." He says, "I don't care." And that was the point where I was like, well, actually, he's right. He goes, "I don't care what rank you are. What have you done? How can you benefit my organisation?"
yeah,
And from that point, I was like, okay, cool, I get it.
yeah,
And I say that to people now. I upset Sergeant Major at the time because I say I don't care that you're a Sergeant Major. Great, really, really well done for getting there, but no one cares when you leave.
yeah. No, it doesn't
I
follow
do
you.
upset people. It's true, isn't it? No one cares.
No, no one, and it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Like it's like me sitting here and saying, I don't know, I'm this rank of HMRC officer, what does that even mean to someone who?
Yeah,
What do you mean rank? It's means nothing to anyone outside that organisation. So you say warrant officer to someone. I mean, I still don't know half the naval ranks.
yeah,
Like, it means absolutely nothing to me. All I knew was if it was gold rope, salute, and that's all I can ever bloody remember because the
yeah.
names never stuck. So it's the same sort of translation. It doesn't mean anything to anyone on the outside. I mean, I've looked at certain CVs of people that they've messaged through and asked for help, and some of the stuff on there, and I've had to be really brutal and go, they don't care. This obviously was very important to you, and that's great, but that's for your memoir, not for this. They
Yeah.
don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about this. This is what you need to put on here. This is not relevant at all.
Look at the job description. If it's a job that you qualified, look at the job description, adjust your CV to hit that job description, and then move on. Don't, because recruiters they don't care about everything that you've done from 1999 to 2026. Like they care about, is this person current, competent, qualified, and are they the right person for this role? So yeah, I always say tailor your applications or CVs to the actual thing that you're going for.
Yeah, and I think what I found, I mean, it might not be the same in other corps or cat badges, but what I found is the military side of me got me through the job purely out of nosiness. They were just intrigued. They may have not have met someone who was military before. I mean, I was ex-Inc Corps, so that might have piqued an interest as well, because everyone probably thinks I'm bloody James Bond when I'm not. I'm in a dark room with
Yeah,
a computer, like it's really boring. So there was a lot of that went on. I've always sort of said lean into it. If people want to be nosy, great. You can only tell them so much, so fine. But at least it gets you in front of that person to sell yourself in a time when AI is looking at CVs, and if something makes you a little bit different from everyone else and makes you more memorable, then that's what the military career is now.
yeah, yeah,
You can't really use it else apart from to translate it into what it is useful for.
yeah, 100%.
It's very difficult for the outside, and I even get questions now, like I'm 4 years into this business and there'll be certain things that happen and I'll get questions now, well, how did that work? And there is a fascination with it, but also no one understands it, and no one's ever been exposed to it, so you do tend to get a lot of questions. Well, how did that happen? How did that work? Is that true? Like, that doesn't sound right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of myths, aren't there, with military service? I think
Yeah.
that civilian organisations and civilian staff, obviously, them myths need to be dispelled at times. But we do come with quite a colourful past, and things that a lot of us done in the past is something that the normal population, the civilian population, would never do. So yeah, of course, it's going to be intrigue, but I think it's our responsibility to educate them as well on where we've been, what we've done, and what life used to be like, so they can understand us better. If we come out with a non-hate compliant joke or a bit of banter at times,
Yeah.
like, because that happens, right? I
Yeah.
always say to my line manager that he probably gets about 20 to 30% of me within the office, because if I went
Yeah.
the humour levels of what I used to do, I'd probably find myself with a P45 and a very quick dismissal. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think we need to, in the military, we need to keep, well, when you leave, you've got to be self-aware in how you communicate with people as well.
Yeah. And also people need to bear in mind, like, because you do get the old and bold, like, well, the military wasn't like that in my day, and I really miss it. It's like, actually, your military has changed massively, because I've had conversations with people who left after me, and I've reminisced about certain people, and oh yeah, this happened when I was like, right when and they were like, you would not get away with that now, and that that was back in 2010. No mind, and they probably joined in like 20. 12 or whatever and left, and it's like, and they're like, you would not get away with that now. I'm like, really? It's just
No, yeah,
that long, has it?
100%. Yeah, the things I used to get away with, the things that we used to get away with in Germany,
Yeah.
in 2012, 7 years later, not a chance. I wouldn't have even entertained it, because we know that wouldn't have happened, or we wouldn't have got anywhere. We wouldn't have got away with what we did back then. Obviously, I'm not going to say what it was now, because we're on a recorded podcast.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? Like, even that's just a 7 year period,
Yeah.
6 or 7 year period. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is changing, and it is changing for the better. We've got some really good people, and some really good junior NCOs that I worked with in the military police. they are really good, and the future does look bright if them people are pushed and if them people want to stay in. But I think on the flip side, if people are looking, if people are intrigued about the outside world, is dip your toe in. You've got things like LinkedIn, Instagram, you've got social media, there's opportunities to network
Yeah.
from day one.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse to leave the military
Yeah.
and not have anything or not know what you want to be doing. I think early networking is key, because I know people say your network is your net worth. In a way, I believe that's correct. I do believe that's right, because if you make a connection with someone and then 2-3 years later you turn around and go, well, we had a conversation a couple of years ago, I wasn't in the right place, but
Yeah.
if you make a good impression with that person,
Yeah.
they're probably going to give you a chance. They're going to give you a shot.
Yeah. Absolutely. Look after yourself,
Yeah,
and don't be scared to look after yourself, because there'll be
exactly.
people that try and put you off, but the reality is everyone leaves one day,
Yeah,
and they're going to be really jealous that you looked after yourself and they didn't, and you're going to be the one that they end up coming to going, oh, I need some help, because you did
yeah,
really well and I haven't. Everyone leaves at some point, and that's what people need to keep telling themselves. You can do a full 30, you can do a full 22, you still got to leave. Still got to go.
let's be honest with the cost of things at the minute, cost of living. People used to be able to do the 22 to 24 years, leave and leave on their military pension. That be them. It's very difficult to do that now, unless obviously you've got more other investments or other things coming in. But it's very difficult, I think, for the general person to
Yeah.
leave at 22 years and never work a day in their life again.
Yeah.
So you're always going to have to leave at some point and get another job. So we might as well start preparing from year one.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Adi, for coming on. I'll definitely, so people can reach out to you if they want to. I'll get your details on the description of the podcast. So if people do want to reach out to you and prepare themselves mentally for their future, which I thoroughly encourage, as I go to therapy every month and have done for the last sort of 3 years. Fully believe in it. So, and anything that can help you mentally, I'm all for it. It's up there as frequent as my sports massages. It's my mental health care. It's so important, because you don't want to hit rock bottom, because having to dig yourself out of it is it's tough. It's not pleasant, and it's tough. And you know what? To dig yourself out, you have to give yourself a lot of credit at that point once you
Yeah,
come to this side of.
huge.
It's a big long hill up with a very heavy backpack on your back.
Yeah, it's not an overnight thing, is it? It's not a quick 8 miler and then that's you sorted.
Yeah.
Like it is a good process. It's a marathon and not a sprint. But no, obviously I would say it because that's what I do. But being through that process myself, if I'd have gone 5 years earlier and seeked out that support then, like it would have been so much easier,
Yeah.
and less. It would have cost me less, and also I'd have got more time back. So yeah, the earliest you can and use the military services for sure, but the earliest you can gain that support, the better.
Yeah. Absolutely. But thank you very much, AD, and I'll
I
speak to
appreciate it.
you. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.